It was a bright day when Vern, Lyria, the captain, and I went back to the studio. Shanae was staring out the window with a dazed smile. So the formula was still working. Good.
Crazy how you invited yourself to the studio to see my sister's paintings. And now you're her personal pharmacist. Serendipity's funny like that.
If you feel like repaying me, how about you finally cough up some art and show me around?
That's a fair price. Everything in the studio was painted by Shanae. Feel free to get close. Admire the details.
Previously, I had managed only a distracted glance at the studio's walls. But this time, I saw visual creativity exploding off them. I wasn't an expert on art, but even I felt the vibrant energy bounding from her drawings. Powerful, powerful pieces swirled around me like a hurricane. And one painting in particular, it was resonant. Sketches were littered about the floor, too. And even they were filled with vitality. How could such a feeble body muster such vivid work?
Oh yeah, about that pigment I bought when we met. Want to see it in action?
Taking the vial from a shelf, Heimel poured the pigment into a dish and mixed it with oil. A few swirls later, and the color had transformed in a way that was more chemistry than alchemy. Intriguing. Takes a specialty product to make that hue. Heimel smiled and handed the freshly prepared paint to Shanae, who was already mid-painting. A bead of sweat trailed down her brow as she swabbed the tint across her canvas.
I believe in Shanae's talent. Look at her. She's amazing. I just have to get the world to recognize it.
It's nice having a supportive sibling. I meant it.
I never know how to read your tone. But, well, her condition made me realize how precious our time together is.
Heimel, who clearly had never known abundance, smiled like the richest of merchants. Though Shanae had been left with a raw deal, it was clear her life wasn't without meaning. If only I could go back and tell my own sister. You were my courage when I was weak. You were my light when I was in darkness. I have lived through eons, but you were my rock. I hoped these siblings, at least, would understand what they meant to one another. I even prayed a little. Which was dumb, considering this Cygames still thinks primal beasts are gods. Huh. Guess I'm getting sentimental in my old age.
Mother said she would bring us salvation. It was a glorious message, and for that she gained a devoted following. As for me, how could I doubt the woman who pulled me from the fiery wreck, who raised me as her own? I thought that together we would save the Sky Realm, even if it meant cutting down any who opposed us. But over time, the sacrifices began to mount. I struggled. My reason battled with my heart, which battled with my conscience. Mother was pure and righteous, but to sacrifice the entire Sky Realm... No. She just lost her way for a bit. She'd wake up one day and see she had strayed. As her child, as her defender, I wanted to believe that she'd change for me. Even at the very end, when I was forced to turn my sword on her, I was praying for an alternative. Any alternative. But she would not repent. And I was confronted with the full force of the atrocities I'd committed in Avia's name. But there was one light left to guide me.
Just follow your heart. It might lead you to scary places, but at least you'll know you're being true to yourself.
Thank you, Lyria. If you hadn't reminded me of my own strength, I'd still be in the dark following Lilith. I swear to you that I will fix even more than I destroyed. And one day, perhaps I will be worthy of your forgiveness. "15 years ago, Dolly fell prey to a violent catastrophe. One that still lives etched in my mind. There was an explosion. Immense and sudden. My home went up in flames, and with it the only life I had ever known. People were fleeing and dying in all directions. The air was filled with screams and the smell of burning. Then I heard it. The soul-piercing roar of a dragon. My short life should have come to an end that day. Except...
Shh. It's okay. Let me be the one to save you.
salvation came in the form of a kind woman. Her name was Lilith, prophet of the pilgrims of Avia. From that day forth, she was both my mother and mentor. I worshipped her. And the thing about devotion is, it makes you blind. Mother had followers in the hundreds, thousands, and my simple child's mind thought, well, if this many people have faith in her, she has to be good, right? I wanted desperately to be of use to her. So I trained to be the perfect guardian.
Young Id, one day you shall be as mighty as I!
General Galanza taught me how to fight.
You wouldn't want the other pilgrims saying you're riding your mother's coattails, would you? Then you must prove yourself.
General Magliel taught me why we fight. Her training was harsh, but that's how I acquired the makings of a general. All effort, no nepotism. Finally, I had some value to Mother. Her sharpest sword. I never felt happier or more accomplished. I thought we were going to save the Sky Realm. The naivete of it all. After we captured the Shaman of Salvation for Lilith's cause, I was assigned to be the girl's keeper. That made me enemy #1 to the Grand Cypher's crew. Every time I took Lyria to a primal beast altar, they'd be there, and we'd fight. I mean, there was a time or two we had to cooperate to prevent widespread calamity. That's beside the point. They were standing in the way of Lilith's mission, opening a path to the Promised Land to Astalucia, and bringing salvation to all Sky Dwellers. Salvation. It's a powerful word in a messed up world like ours. No wonder everyone got roped in by her lies. Lilith was no more than an astral desperate to return to her home dimension, and she would have sacrificed the whole Sky Realm to do it. I tried to reason with her. Might as well have asked an avalanche to change course. So I turned to prayer. But what are hopes and belief without action? So left with no other choice, I joined the crew of the Grand Cypher to dispatch my own mother. But I never could have foreseen what would happen next. Lilith did something, and freed a monster from within me. The dragon I'd seen the day Dolly burned, with wings so vast they overshadowed all of Sega Grande. Bahamut Versa. But then I learned Bahamut didn't cause the Dali calamity. It had come to stop it. It was Lilith who killed my family and razed my home. She'd only let me live for one reason. She needed a vessel to seal the dragon in, and I was conveniently nearby. She'd raised me to win my loyalty and protect herself from the god of destruction now living inside me. But when I stopped being of use to her, she abandoned me and let me turn into Bahamut. I don't know how to describe the feeling of flesh melting into scales, a fire filling your stomach. All human warmth, human blood seemed to rush from my veins, and it was replaced by an overwhelming urge to destroy. It was like being swept away in a torrent. Any attempt to fight it only made the suffering worse. I was so tempted to give in. But the crew wouldn't let me. Apparently, the captain was sure I wouldn't lose my soul battle with Bahamut. So to help me along, they decided to beat on the dragon from the outside until he coughed me up. Yeah, not the most elaborate plan. But it worked. The whole time they were fighting, they called my name, and the sound of their voices brought me back. I split myself from Bahamut, then joined the crew to take it down. We had our losses, though. Bahamut hit me and the captain with a blow that sent us hurtling into another dimension. A man named Roland dove in to save us, sacrificing himself along the way. And that's how we came back to Folka without him. Roland used to be the local Mr. Fix-It, by the way. And I took up that mantle. I owed him that much, and I figured it'd be a first step in making amends.